Hi, this is Sue from MontiArts, and today we're fortunate enough to be in the studio of the Milligan Studio in St. Paul, Minnesota with Alan Milligan and Nicole Milligan. Thanks so much for having us into your space today and taking some time to talk to us. These are the artists who completed the Gathering sculpture that's installed at Eastbridge Park now. And Alan did the steel portion of the sculpture, and Mary does the fused glass portion of their work. And how long have you guys been collaborating on large installations like this?
I guess 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah. We started the studio about 6 years ago when we came back to America, and it's the glass is a new thing. We've been doing that for I don't know what 3 years, something like that.
Yeah.
But I started out as a glass artist a long time ago before I started to write books. So my first book was In the Company of Angels, which was the New York Times bestseller.
Oh my gosh.
So Nicole Mary Kelby is what I write under, N.M. Kelby, but that was, I don't know, before, right around 9/11. But then I met Alan in the wilds of Ireland when we were on residency at the Tyrone Guthrie Center in Annaghmakerrig. And then we started collaborating at that point, but mostly on dinner.
Yeah, walked around and enjoyed galleries together.
Yeah.
And that history was made, huh?
It's funny, we graduated from the same art college, but 10 years difference.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was got his undergraduate at Bath Spa University in England, and I got my doctorate there.
I think it's really interesting. Well, your work is interesting on its own, but hearing about the way you guys run your studio with involving different helpers who come in and working with the community and things like that, it's unusual to find artists who are so community minded and wanting to give back and that kind of thing. Can you talk a little bit about the way you like to run your art studio?
Well,
You're a community artist in Ireland for 10 years.
yeah. So before I met Nicole, I was in County Fermanagh in Northern Ireland. So there I helped. I taught hundreds of children how to make arts and crafts and things, and we did big murals and playground paintings and all sorts of things. Anything that was needed in the community, I would do it. And then eventually I ended up getting involved in archaeology and Bronze Age casting techniques, and I would do symposiums every year around Ireland, learning how these objects were made in museums that we find in the museums, how they were actually made by our ancestors thousands of years ago. And that was my real passion. And then through a sort of a chance meeting kind of in the pub with people, I ended up being helping an international arts festival come to the town of Fermanagh, or the county of Fermanagh, the town of Enniskillen. And it was the Samuel Beckett Festival. And they made a series of bronze chess pieces for the centerpiece to their the festival. And then we set up another festival for Oscar Wilde, because both Samuel Beckett and Oscar Wilde went to school in Enniskillen. Again, a bit like me and Nicole, but they were about 100 years apart.
Sometimes it feels like we're 100 years apart.
Yeah. So helped set up those two festivals and did some art for them, some sculptures. I put some little swallows around the town, and gold leaf, one of their major
Monuments.
monument. Yeah. So.
Pretty radical stuff for you don't really want to gold leaf the famous places.
So.
So then you ran away.
So I ran away. No, they gave me this bursary to go to the Annaghmakerrig Centre for a couple of weeks, where I met Nicole, and we started talking, and we just didn't stop talking. Walked around the lake and spent many a night sitting in front of the big kitchen there with a big open fireplace, you know, chatting away. So she invited me to come to. We set up another festival in Paris, and I invited her to come to Paris, and then she invited me to come to Poland and Belgium, and we went around Europe kind of enjoying the art world and being...
Most people go to the movies. You just,
And then I got invited to a sculpture park over in America, and she said, well, come over. And we were sort of getting a bit more serious by then, and she said, well, she was thinking about moving to Ireland. And so I said, I'll come over and do this sculptures for a bit, and then we'll go back home. And we're still here 6 years later.
it just, I mean, it was funny because I used to be an artist in schools for many years. That's how I started before I went to television. I just went all over the country as an artist in the schools, and I just loved the community. And then in television, I realized how important it was to give voice to the community. When I worked at Channel 9, it was the CNN. And so the idea that when someone's son was shot in the street, it was incredibly important to go out there and help them eulogize that child, and to have the community remember. You know, and that whole idea of remembering and honoring became just really part of everything I did. And I spent years after that writing books, and works of historic fiction, and Company of Angels, and all these books. But you know, it's a very quiet way to remember, and it doesn't. And they all have these lush images and these beautiful images. And when I was a very young person, I think I was still in high school, I started getting interested in stained glass, but I never really spent time, and I did some painting and things. I had some shows and installations, but I never really spent time as a visual artist. Then when Alan and I were traveling around the world and seeing things like Chagall, and I just realized how much my work was really about images. You know, and then so we started, when we came here to America again, you know, because I've been in St. Paul for years, on and off, living here and traveling around to Poland and all these places and coming back. When we came back to St. Paul, we realized, you know, public art is something that we've sort of been backing into for just a very long time. And what if we took an incredibly fine art approach to it? What if we took that fine eye that Alan has with the Samuel Beckett chess set? So what if you took that incredible eye and that incredible detail and brought that to public art? You know, and even the playfulness, some of the things we do or some of the things I do are very playful. And my poor tormented husband goes along. But, you know, but there is, you know, but there's still that fine art sensibility to it. But when you're in the center of it, it's that moment of fine art, that moment where art takes you to another place. And so our commitment then became not just making the art. We started realizing that when we started working with the City of St. Paul, they said, hey, have you ever thought about working with first-time offenders? And we went, hey, no, really? And they said, yeah, it's, you know, they normally pick up trash, and it seems like a waste because some of them are artists and most of them just didn't really do anything terrible. They just made a mistake and DWI and they're in rehab or whatever. You know, people need a break because they came open-hearted and said, let's try it. And they work hard. It isn't like, you know, we did anything. We just gave them tea and lunch. We always feed them. And
an opportunity, though.
Yeah.
An opportunity to contribute, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
If you just give, I find, people hospitality and dignity, and you know, treat them with respect, and I mean, when we got the opportunity to work with people, that to me, there's my sort of altruistic kind of, I can get people to help me. So first of all, I wasn't just thinking in terms of let's, you know, help people. I was asking them to help me. So that's a sense of sort of me being the one that needs the help, not them, you know. So if they help me, then that gives them a sense of, you know, achievement or purpose or something. And I really did need the help. I needed to move heavy things and lift heavy things and put things together. So you know, you do get work out of the people, but
It's a nice symbiotic
yeah,
relationship.
yeah.
and I think that it's important that we did need help. And they came and they recognized we needed help.
Yeah, they're not
It
just
wasn't like a
treading water or
fake
killing time.
pick up the trash or
Make
anything.
work.
They recognized we were making something much bigger than we should have been making, which is usually basically how I begin. How can we make this enormous and amazing and joyful? And there's just moments where you're trying to put a 20-foot sculpture into a U-Haul going, this is really a dumb idea. But you can't get it there any other way because the community you're working for doesn't really have a budget to get all the things, but you want to give them something beautiful, and you've worked tirelessly to make, and everything, we fall in love with every piece we give.
It's figuring out ways to make the big ideas happen.
How do you
The
make that
challenge of
happen?
the puzzle is quite addictive, you know. You just go, how do you make this solution? How do you make it work? And I've spent many years trying to when I said I used to teach like product design and things, and it was all about how do you make something better? How do you solve the problem? You know, the invention of, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
So that idea of like, okay, how do we make this thing bigger without making it heavier? How do we get it to be tall enough but to stand, you know? So, and we have to, when I came here to America, it's a different landscape than Ireland. Ireland's an ancient landscape that's layered with, like, you know, you see the roads and you see the cars and the gas stations, as you call them here, and then you go behind that and suddenly there's a monastery that's hundreds of years old, and behind that is these ancient stones that are 1,000 years old or 2,000, and you just have to scratch the surface and it's all there. It's there in the names of the streets. Everything's organic and curved, and I come here and it's like all on a grid and homogenized, and you get on a road and travel 200 miles and you pull off and you're still at the same cafe that you left 200 miles about.
Yeah,
And it's the same strip mall that you left 600 miles back, and I'm like, what have you done here? Because you've gridded something here and you've made it the same, but it's a huge space, but why would I want to travel 600 miles if it's the exact same as where I'm standing? And so when we make a piece, first of all, I bring curves to the thing because it's the way I feel. Everything should be curved. Nature's full of curves, there are no straight lines, as they say, but when I make a piece, I have to make it kind of stand up against the strip mall signs and say, hey, this is something, but it's quieter. It's not quiet as the little pieces I used to make in Ireland and little bronze things that would draw you into the detail. But it's big and it says, here I am, but I'm unique. And when we make these things for the communities, they're, you know, it's not like, well, I've got this design and I can make 6 of them and put them all over the country. That would make me feel ill.
Yeah.
So
You're
each
creating
place,
landmarks.
yes,
Creating landmarks
and
that
sort of
people
centers.
attach to.
Yeah, so you don't go, oh, it's such and such beside the McDonald's. You go, oh, it's beside the thing, and they start to
That
describe the
horse.
thing,
Yes.
Yeah.
the steel horse,
Did you
or
see
the
that steel horse?
or
Yeah.
the balloon thing spinning, or the guy made out of driftwood with the oars for hands, and then they start to describe it. They start to tell the story of it, what they see in it.
And their
So when people will
relationship.
describe the piece for Monticello, they'll be like, oh, the steel reeds with the fish, or maybe they'll say there's 4 fish on it, or maybe they'll say there's 10 fish on it, or maybe they'll not say it's fish at all, maybe it's just water to them, you know, or maybe it's not reeds at all, maybe it's the ripples in the water and that's something else, and you know, so
Even those conversations are wonderful.
Yeah.
That
you know,
are
to
really
get people to think and feel something, and then just to their community though, that's for them, you know.
Well, the thing is funny, you know, in all these strip malls and things, are these really unique people.
Mhm.
And I think that really gets lost, you know, that there are some really amazing people, you know, in America. Americans are quite interesting birds, you know, and so
Well, they're the people from all over the world who come here.
who come and
So they're kind
amalgamate
of a little bit
and-
uprooted, and they're all trying to figure out who they are and how do we all share this space. And it's
It's the patchwork of individuals
Yeah.
forming a community. Yeah.
yeah.
And so, you know, a lot of the work you see us do is about community and about the uniqueness of the individual in the community. I mean, that seems to be a consistent theme that we're very interested in with glass and making the uniqueness, but it is a community. We're all, you know, a school of fish, we're all shoaling together, we're all working together towards something. That's why it's such an honor to do this piece, The Gathering, which is, of course, the antithesis of the thing in COVID. And yet, you know, it's just a reminder, you know, we'll probably have times we can't be together again, you know, because we don't know, because things have gotten, you know, let's just say chemical. But, you know, with these things, we don't know what the next step will be. But we'll always be able to walk there and see a reminder that we are a part of a community. And so,
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
inviting us into your place and spending this time with us today. If people want to follow your work and keep up with what you're doing, is your website and
Yes.
Facebook the best
It's-
place?
Well, our website is great, the Milligan Studio, themilliganstudio.com.
Okay,
And we're on Facebook, but we always keep the website going because you can see what projects we're actually doing step by step.
I love that.
Right now we're doing just City of St. Paul, and you can see us, and it's funny because there's a lot of dog pictures while we're doing the projects, and there's a lot of more human, funny pictures, you know, of things going on, because we're about doing it in your community, and so you get to actually get to know what we do and stuff. After a while, we get embarrassed at too many dog pictures. So we
I love
take-
all the pictures of the work happening and the
Yeah,
dogs running.
the work
It's like,
happening and the
that
tea.
is what this is happening in
Yeah,
the studio.
This
I
is
love
really
that
what's
look.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's true, you know, like we had a new intern, Mohammed, and we all played basketball.
Horse, yes.
We all played horse in the backyard. We thought it was great. You know, I love to play basketball, so it was the lovely picture, you know, us, you know, a moment in time
Yeah.
in your community making a sculpture for you. A bit of jewelry, as we like to say. You know, we want to bejewel every place in America, every heart in America, we want to bejewel.
And give us those landmarks that connect us to our communities and our special places.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
You
Thank
both and your work are so amazing, and it's been so interesting and such a joy to talk to you today.
Well, thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you very much.